failure is only failure if it's permanent. And if you stop, that's when you've robbed yourself of your potential.
In today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with award-winning real estate agent and entrepreneurial coach, Rob Stein. Over the last 20 years, Rob has developed a life-changing process in the impossible to fail framework that has allowed him to achieve a level of wealth and financial freedom that he previously thought was only possible for the select few. We're going to be discussing the fears that hold you back from accomplishing the dreams, the characteristics that it takes to be wildly successful, and an amazing referral process that you can implement today and see results from. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your host, Michael and Courtney Weaver. We have a special guest with us today, Rob Stein. Rob, how are you?
Michael, I'm doing great. Courtney, so wonderful to meet y'all. It's an honor to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
We're pumped about this.
Oh, hell yeah. We're super excited. So before we got started, we started talking about our weightlifting bodybuilding days. And so I would love to start the conversation there, Rob. What do you think, or what are some things you learned from that experience that have helped you in your career and just life in general?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. And, it's a common thread when you see high performing entrepreneurs like yourselves, that really prioritize their health, their physical health. They tend to do a lot better in business overall. And it's because there are so many characteristics that it takes when you're preparing for some type of physique competition, bodybuilding, physique, bikini, or whatever, to get on stage that have great parallel to entrepreneurship. A few of them, delayed gratification is something I talk about all the time. Personally, I never had a fast metabolism. I told y'all I used to be quite overweight and had a hard time getting it off. So whereas some of my counterparts I would compete with that even weighed less than me could do half as much cardio and eat twice as much food as I could, but I had to be very restrictive. And that delayed gratification of, okay, I'm gonna prep for 6 months, 24/7 to step on stage for 20 minutes 6 months from now, right? Yep. Because it's so hard, and when every instinct, every fiber of your being is going against our human evolution, and because your body literally thinks it's dying and it's telling you to stop, go eat some food, give it a rest, and you push forward anyway. It takes a lot of delayed gratification. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of relentless consistency, because as you both know, stepping on stage for a physique competition, it's a 24/7 sport. It's not just happening in the gym. It's happening with everything you eat. You're weighing out every gram of food. I would tell stories how if my wife would say hey, my parents want us to come over for dinner tonight. Okay, cool. The first thing I think about is, now my food timing is all screwed up for the day, and I'm going to have to train at this time and prep these meals. So, going to my best friend's wedding with a cooler of my own cold chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, packing a cooler of food.
Yeah. So there are so many things, just the consistency, the grit, the discipline, the unending discipline, which, is doing something that needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. That's the discipline. Yep. So if you can do all of those things at a high level and show up on stage, my bodybuilding coach used to tell me that, this is an offense only sport, and you're going to get on stage and you have to look left and right and know in your heart you worked harder than everybody else and you did your best. And if you did, then you're content with whatever happens. And if you can really truly say that when that day comes, I think you're going to really be set up for success, in entrepreneurship and life. And personally, everything seems easier than a prep.
Yeah. No, and I love how you.
Everything is easier than a prep.
Everything is easier than a prep.
We're all like, true. Oh man, you remember those days? All right.
But I love what you just ended with, because it's kind of like the old saying, instead of pointing the finger, you better look at who the thumb's pointing at, because it's always you versus you. Period.
That's right.
That's what it's all about.
Well, and I think in entrepreneurship, just like in bodybuilding, you can't predict the outcome. You can only control what you can control, because some person might think that your physique's better than this physique, or in entrepreneurship, you might have different goals or a different vision than the person down the road building their business. So, bringing all of those into play. And I want to jump into this because you're coaching professionals day in and day out. And I want to talk about fear, because I think that that's something that a lot of us, when we get into, even before bodybuilding, yes, is a scary thing to stand on stage without clothes on, but it is a tiny, microscopic pieces of clothing.
Yeah. I remember when I got, just a quick sidebar, when I ordered my first set of custom posing trunks, which is a fancy way of saying the little bikini that you wear. And I don't know why I thought they were going to come in like a box or something. And it was just like a letter size envelope.
Yep.
That was it. And I took them out. I was like, whoa, that's tiny.
Yeah. You're like, okay, bring on the thong. Here we go.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, a
lot of fear. Yeah.
You don't look it up. Your internet search will be ruined after that. But when we're talking about fear in entrepreneurship, how is this translating? You're getting started. You work with a lot of real estate professionals, and I want to talk about that too. But what do you think, like, the number one fear when we're going into this, starting a business, even like continuing to grow? Yeah. What is really paralyzing us?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. It's actually one of the chapters in my upcoming book, Impossible to Fail, that's coming out in a few months and mid-quarter 2. And I've actually kind of dissected fear of failure. Fear of failure, we've all heard it. I think it's a very wide and deep term. And I've actually kind of, peeled back the layers and classified it into 4 different subcategories. Because I think when, based on my experience and other people I coach, I think when you're facing fear, and fear is ever present really, it's always going to be one of, or a combination of one of these 4 fears that are halting you. And when you know which fears are at play, well, then you can isolate it and you can conquer it, because you actually know where your enemy is. So the first one is going to be fear of imperfection. We all have fear of imperfection. No one likes doing something they're not good at, right? As kids, we have no problem doing new things, but as adults, we generally get used to getting good at something, and we don't like doing things that we're not good at. But the reality is that, in certain things, perfection is possible. An experienced real estate agent can deliver a perfect presentation or a perfect script, 10 out of 10, get that agreement, get that deal. But in order to do that, you have to be imperfect until you achieve mastery through repetition, right? Just like if we were talking about bodybuilding, you're not going to get really good at posing until you've practiced your posing for hours and countless hundreds of hours, and you can do your routine in your sleep. Until you've achieved mastery through repetition, you're not going to be perfect. And when people might use a scapegoat of, well, Rob, I'm a perfectionist, but really they're just saying they're a procrastinator. And the reality is, if you were a perfectionist, you would start taking action right now, because you would realize the only way to achieve mastery is through the learning curves, right? So fear of imperfection is definitely one of them that's always at play. And the good news is that you can conquer that simply by taking action. Number 2 is going to be fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is always at play. When I started, last year, I started taking social media really seriously and developing a YouTube channel. And I was terrified, and I was making all the excuses because the equipment, the uploading, the editing, so much, it's overwhelming. I'm going to wait. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to hold off because it's the unknown, and the unknown is scary. And that's actually a survival mechanism built into our DNA, right? Our ancestors, we're here because enough of our ancestors feared the unknown of, like, hey, there's movement in the bush. Like, is that the wind or is it a lion? I'm going to play it safe, right? But the good news is, it is also in the human spirit to fear the unknown and conquer it anyway. Right? There was a first human to build a ship, right? I drive a Tesla because Elon Musk conquered, the unknown of electric cars, right? We fly on planes because the Wright brothers conquered the fear of the unknown of flight. So for anyone listening, rest assured that it is within you as a human being to fear the unknown, but still conquer it again by taking action. And the repetitive theme here is taking action is always the answer.
Yep.
So we talked about fear of imperfection, fear of the unknown. Number 3, fear of judgment. Also a survival mechanism from our living in tribes, which we've done for the vast majority of our evolution up until pretty recently in our evolutionary history. Because you had to be able to get along with your tribe to survive. Otherwise, they'd kill you or leave you to die, and you had to survive in a pack. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't care what other people think or you shouldn't prioritize being able to get along with people. But the reality is when we fear the unknown, we fear like the ethereal they, the people we don't know. Ed Milet refers to those people as the extras in your life, right? Like the extras that don't even get a name in the movie credits. Right? Taxi driver 1, barista 2. And it's the people that we don't even know. And the reality is people are so busy thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you. And if you mess up, like they're not going to remember. So what you really need to focus on is that, one of my coaches, Coach Michael Burt, has a great phrase. And he says, I'm looking for people that are looking for me. You're not looking for me. I'm not looking for you either. Keep moving. That's okay. And the reality is that we all, you both, Michael and Courtney and myself, I'm sure we put some content out there that some people don't like, and that's their right not to like it. But there are a lot of people whose lives we can touch in a very positive way that will find value in what we have to offer. And those are the people I'm after. And if you don't find value in it or you don't like it, like, cool, just keep moving, right? I'm not going to waste my energy. You don't need to waste yours. Yep. So fear of imperfection, fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, and finally, fear of sacrifice. And that's a big one too. I think that's a huge reason you hear all the time about, people start a competition prep and they can't make it last because they're not willing to sacrifice the time, the money, the education, again, the years that it might take to even get your thing off the ground. But every goal, every vision, every dream has a price. And that price is sacrifice. It is time. It is short-term sacrifice for long-term reward later. And the further you are from your goal, the higher the price tag, the more sacrifice it will take. So if I'm working with an agent that says, Rob, can you teach me how to close an extra, 5 deals a year? Sure. Like that's really easy. That's not going to take a lot of sacrifice. If they say, Rob, I closed 3 deals last year. I want to close 30 this year. Is it possible? Yes. But be prepared because your world is going to be rocked by how different your day is going to have to look and your year is going to have to look in order to accomplish that. Is it possible? Yes, but be ready to sacrifice more than you ever have and more than you think you're capable of. So fear of sacrifice, I think, is usually always at play because I'm sure you can both relate, like getting your businesses, your coaching business, your insurance business, which I know you've recently shifted from, but I mean, you built one of the most incredible businesses out there. So I'm sure it took longer and more sacrifice than you thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you look at those 4 fears and ask yourself which one or a combination of these is working against me right now, I guarantee it's going to be one of, or a pair of those, or a few of them at play. And then you can get past it by realizing what action you need to take and just commit to taking action, because that's the only way any of those things are going to be fixed.
Yeah, I love these. I actually want to dissect these just a little bit because these are all really, really good. So
yeah,
the fear of imperfection, I want this to be a conversation between us. All right. Like, is there such thing as perfect? Like, is there anything that's actually perfect?
I mean, I think it depends on what you're talking about. I don't think there's such thing as being a perfect person. No, there's no such thing as being a perfect person. There's no such thing as having a perfect life. I think certain skills, certain little events could be executed perfectly, right? You can look up some perfect shots of Michael Jordan. Not a perfect career, still one of the best in the world, but he'll you could look at a replay of a shot and be like, perfect. I mean, nothing but net, flawless. Yeah. Right. Or if I go on a buyer or seller presentation after years and hundreds of presentations, they don't all go like this, but sometimes you're like, I really reflected. I don't think it could have gone any better. We hit it off. I got the agreement. They love it. The deal was it was great. Like I'm always striving to be better, but I think certain instances of certain skill sets can be executed with extreme mastery and sometimes perfection, depending on what it is you're talking about. I don't think you'll find a perfect agent or a perfect this or a perfect that, but I think certain aspects of your craft could be executed perfectly, depending on what, depending on the thing. I think when people are worried about fear of imperfection, it's usually something more encompassing. They're not worried about perfecting a little skill. They're worried about perfecting the whole thing,
Yep. Which
really can't be done. But again, you can achieve mastery. You can achieve a level where other people might say that was perfect and you go, it could have been better, but you can still achieve mastery. And for most people, that's really what they want. They don't want perfection. They just want mastery. They want comfort. They want to feel confident in their ability to do something. But again, that can only happen until you have enough reps under your belt and experience to pull the confidence from.
Yep. I love where you went with that, because everything that you just said takes action. You have to take lots of action to build the mastery to get to the perfect equation. And so I love that you started there.
Well, and I think your point is, I don't think you can be perfect, but I think you can do perfect. I think those are two different things. And when we say perfect, just to echo what Rob was saying, we make ourselves, am I perfect? Am I this? Instead of, is this instance, is this conversation, is this close? Like, those moments can be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I love every single one of these fears because it's almost like paralysis by analysis. Like, one of these fears is going to hang you up from accomplishing your dreams. And like, the one I really want to dive into just real fast is the fear of sacrifice. Because I believe that in the world we live in right now with social media, that there are very few, I don't know if it's almost like people see people on their best days all the time and they see the now, but they don't see the sacrifices that have led up till this point. And that's one thing I always try to hit home. Like, if you're really trying to achieve really big goals, it's going to take some sacrifice, and the sacrifices aren't always fun, but they're definitely worth it. I tell people all the time, like, I'm surprised me and Courtney are even still together. She saw me like one day a week, literally one day a week, the first, 4 or 5 years of our life together. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think the fear of sacrifice, but it's always,
yeah, because there's a lot of times when you have a goal, you immediately rush into, what does it take? How much work does it take? How much is it? What's the price I have to pay? And is the price worth it? So how do you kind of coach through? And I want to dive into this one because our culture is kind of opposing this right now. Like, if it's hard, like, just, avoid it or minimize it. How do you coach to this to where, entrepreneurs know, like, there is, like, this is the cost of what you want? Yeah,
that's a great question. And I could not agree with you both more. I think you both hit the center of the bullseye on that one. I talk about this again in my book, that I feel there's a nationwide grit shortage and delayed gratification shortage right now, largely because of social media. And if you reference, I talk about this all the time, this little success iceberg image that I have in my office here, which you can see if you're watching the video, and a lot of people have seen it, but success is the iceberg that's above the water that you see. But what's under the water is really what's been developing over time, and it's what people don't see. Now, when people usually make social media posts, what they're posting is what's on top of the water, right? And in the real estate world, which is where I spend most of my time, we see that all the time. It's the agents posting the closing with the big key and their fancy car and the drink at the rooftop bar, and look at me and how successful I am. But what they don't see is the deals falling through, the late nights, the phone ringing off the hook during dinner, the Saturdays where you're not with your family, the Sundays where you think you're going to be with your family until you get a 300 mile an hour flaming curveball that you have to take care of. Most people don't post about those kind of things, right? Sometimes I'll do Facebook Lives or make videos. I even posted a video on my YouTube channel recently called like Long Days and Late Nights, where it was like a 14-hour day and I had to come back in my office. And I just made it real transparent. Like, I was just wearing like an old t-shirt, probably had some baby spit up on it. And I was just like, this is what it's like sometimes. And so I am very transparent about that, because that's how I value, being handled. And that's how I want to coach people, because I tell them you can achieve whatever you dream. It is 100% possible. It's just going to be a lot harder, require a lot more sacrifice, a lot more time. It's going to be a lot more of a self-transformation than you've ever experienced and that you could ever possibly imagine. But I guarantee you that with the right education, the right guidance, the right amount of action, the right amount of consistency, and the right amount of time, that it is impossible to fail. And that's really where the framework came from. And you know, it's the massive action, it's the consistency, but it's also the time. Sometimes you're doing the right things and you're doing them consistently. You just have to let it simmer more. You just got to give it more time to build your skill set or to really gain momentum. You know, it took me 7 months to get paid as an agent. I didn't take a day off. My wife and I, we were relentless. We had nights where we'd get back from an open house and we'd get what we called the open house blues, when you set up for an open house and you're trying to get clients and nobody comes, or you got no prospects. And, you know, we moved 2,000 miles away. Katie, I was a full-time entrepreneur, but Katie had an amazing teaching job. She was making 60 something grand a year. She had amazing health benefits. You know, we burned those docks and became real estate agents in a place where we knew no people, going against 20,000 other agents. And we had some times like in tears looking at each other like, what the F did we do? Mm-hmm. Like, did we make a huge mistake? Like, oh my gosh. But you know, we just didn't stop. We were just relentless and we just kept going until things really took off. And so I'm just always very transparent, whether it's agents or anyone, that being an entrepreneur is a lot harder than most people make it look. And when you see someone that being really successful, it probably took them years and years, 20 years to become an overnight success kind of thing. But it is possible as long as you're on the right path.
Yeah. I love the overnight success comment, because it really does take, it is going to take longer than you think it is going to take. Every single thing that we have, every goal that we've had requires more than we ever expect. Now the payoff is more, but what we have to give in exchange for that is always bigger than what we expect. Like there's always a bigger...
never happens as fast as you want it to.
Ever.
So I appreciate you being vulnerable, because we've had the same conversations with a lot of our businesses. It's like, we're doing the right things. We're putting in the work. We're putting in the hours. We're innovative. And then all of a sudden it's like the hockey stick. Like all of a sudden, boom, you hit it. Like after months of, I feel like, just walking through mud almost.
Oh yeah. And the reality is, I'm sure you'll both agree with me, Michael and Courtney, that, regardless of the level you're at, we all still have those moments and those fears and those doubts. I'll continue to be very transparent with you. I had like a rough morning this morning. 4:45, I wake up every morning, and the sales course, Earth to Orbit, it's the most powerful, in-depth course ever created. It's cost me literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce, years in production. We're right at the finish line. And I have such big aspirations for this thing. I'm going to be helping over 1,000 agents by the end of the year. That is my declaration. But there are still some times when I'm like, whew, man, this needs to happen. It needs to. And I'm confident that it will, because we've already sold hundreds of copies, and the agents that have invested in it are achieving incredible life-changing results, 10, 20, 30 times ROI in an average of less than 3 months. But it's still just that drive to be able to serve and to be able to really contribute positively to people. And, Katie was so helpful this morning, just giving me some real good positivity as I headed into my day. But we all have those moments. And I think when, as you both just hit on, sometimes it's easy to look on social media and look at entrepreneurs and be like, man, they must never have stress. They must never have doubt. They just must be so content and fulfilled all the time. And that's not true. We all have fears and doubts. The difference is that we take action anyway. And the fear might still be there and the doubt might still be there, but we still take action. And I think that's the difference between the people that achieve what they want and the people that don't. Is the people that don't let one of those fears, they let inaction get the best of them. Analysis paralysis gets the best of them. Or as we say, I'm still afraid. I still don't know if it's going to work, but I'm just going to keep going. And that's the only way to guarantee that you can actually get what you want, because for sure, failure is only failure if it's permanent. And if you stop, that's when you've robbed yourself of your potential.
Yeah. They get a seat in the car. All of these fears can have a seat in the car. They just don't get to drive. That's
right. Oh, like, I love that.
Like that's a
good one.
You can hang out here and you can protect me and keep me safe, but you don't get to take the wheel because I have hopes and dreams. So I want to go back to when you were in a new place. You and your wife pick up, uproot, and you have this fear of like, okay, I have to start over as a real estate agent and I'm going all in. I want to know, how did you build, like, what was your focus? Because a lot of our listeners in the insurance space are really focused on lead generation and building like a great referral source.
Yes.
So I want to hear your perspective because now you're kind of on the other side and you have this referral machine. How did you build that?
Great question. I actually am a world record holding business networker out of some of the referral business that I've started and some referral groups that I've started. So ultimately, you know, I think real estate and insurance, mortgage lending as well, we're very, very similar in the way that we need to prospect for leads. And of course, we all want a referral-based business, right? And your phone doesn't ring by itself at the beginning, but it will start doing that. But you need to prospect for referrals. And that's what people don't realize. I call that relationship-based prospecting. You're still going out and hunting. You're still sifting for gold. The difference is if you have a business, let's say you're cold calling, which can still be valuable. If you're starting, I think you got to do everything. But if you're cold calling or getting internet leads and you're going after cold leads, the difference is on cold prospecting, you are chasing. And on referral, relationship-based prospecting, you are attracting. And that's really what we want. So people want a relationship-based business because they want to attract. They want people to come to them. No one likes being chased, right? So in order to do that, you must prospect in that way. So I did everything. Katie and I did everything when we started. We did cold calling for 3 hours a day. We did door knocking. We did open houses, which is a great way for real estate agents to get business, community groups. And then after about month 7, even though it took 7 months to get paid, we made almost 50 grand in our first week of commissions. And that's when we were like, okay, like that gives us the confidence to know we have proof of concept. We have what it takes. Let's go. And then I really started focusing on relationship-based prospecting, the in-person methods of prospecting. So that was for real estate agents, open houses, but for insurance, and this is for real estate agents too, community groups, business networking groups. So for the community groups, this is anywhere that you go that you are in an opportunity to meet people or be around people on a fairly consistent basis. Like for me, the gym is my primary community group. I got a ton of business from the gym. Our church, right, could be a community group. If you go to a fitness class, if your kids are on a sports team and you go see other parents at the practices and at the games, that I would classify as a community group. Your reading club, right? If you have a Bible study, these are all community groups that you see people. Business networking groups. I hold the world record for starting the fastest BNI chapter, fastest launch. But there's a ton of different business networking groups out there where there are other business owners and you get to know them for the point of referring each other. So when anyone from that group hears someone needing an agent, you know, hopefully they will refer me. If I hear of someone needing a contractor or a lender, you know, I have my usual referral partners. The thing that most insurance agents and really people in this type of industry don't realize, so pay careful attention, y'all, because you're going to make some money with what I'm about to tell you. The networking events, whether that's a business event or a community group, is not the finish line. And so many people, when I ask them, how many one-to-ones are you doing? Meaning a one-to-one get-together, a coffee, a beer, a lunch, a dinner, for the sake of getting to know each other. And they say, well, I go to a lot of networking events. And I'm like, yeah, cool. How many one-to-ones are you doing? Well, I don't do one-to-ones. I go to the networking events. And that's where we have to reframe. Because the events is the barrier to entry. That's the gateway. You go to the events for the purpose of scheduling one-to-ones with the people you meet at the events. You're not going to, right? People refer those they know, like, and trust. Those 3 things have to be in place. So if you're an agent trying to get your insurance business off the ground, you know, here's one cool thing, a great benefit you have that I don't have. Everyone in the world needs what you have. Only once every 5 to 7 years statistically will people potentially need what I have. Everyone in the world needs what you have. So that's great, right? And so it's really easy to get people to know, like, and trust you by doing one-to-ones. I recommend at least 5 one-to-ones per week. One for each lead bucket that you have. So if you go to a church and a gym and a this and a that, at least one a week. Or if you only have 1 or 2 community groups, you should be doing 5 a week. Now, that doesn't mean 1 a day. You could load all your one-to-ones in 1 day, right? But as long as you're doing 5 a week, when you're calling everyone in your world at least once a quarter, having a little chit chat, and then asking for business, because you got to ask for what you want. I was just training my real estate team about this morning. Now, I could talk about lead generation forever, so y'all cut me off.
No, this is good, man.
You're speaking our language.
Yeah, this
We're
is
getting all
good.
fired up here.
Cool, but for sure, the one-to-ones. Okay, now number 2, realize you have to ask for what you want. People, right? Even if Michael and Courtney, right? Let's say we lived in the same area and they're really good friends and they were my go-to insurance people. I still don't walk around all day thinking, who can I refer to Michael and Courtney today? Right? And you think, because someone knows that you're an insurance agent, they're going to refer you 24/7. They're not, because they're not thinking about you all day. They're thinking about themselves and what they have to do, just like everybody does. And so you have to remind them that you want their referrals. And so many people fear being pushy or being salesy. So I'm going to give you some techniques to not do that. Number 1, always start with some non-business related questions. See, we all remember a time when we were sold too hard, disingenuously, and we don't like that. Now, if I were to call Michael and say, hey, Michael, it's Rob Stein. I was on your podcast a little while ago. He says, yeah, Rob, how you doing? I say, good. Who do you know looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate I can call today? He'd be like, whoa, dude, like, what are you doing? You even care about talking to me or what? Right? But when you have a nice conversation with someone because you care about them and you ask them questions about their life and what's going on, and then at the end of the conversation, you say, hey, by the way, do you know anyone looking to lower their car payment or maybe, upgrade their home insurance after the crazy storm we had that I can give a call to? Because I'm helping a lot of people right now. You're asking if you can help someone. You're not selling a product. In the insurance business, you are genuinely helping people with things that one day they will need help with, right? And so it's easy to do that in an honest way if you ask the question at the end. And if you really just take the time to remember that you're offering to help someone, you're not selling them anything, you're offering to help them. I'll tell a quick story if I may. I train my real estate agents to ask for referrals at the closing table. So when we're closing, we're at the title company, the escrow officer walks out, gets the documents together, that's the time. Now I have an agent in my company in Dallas, and he had his first closing a few months ago. Killing it. Absolutely killing it. He just got licensed, already having closings. And he had buyers that were at the closing table. So I would argue that at that moment, there was no one in the world that was more qualified to give him a referral than those buyers, because they're at the closing table. Did they know he's an agent? Yep. Did they know he's doing a good job? Yep. At the closing table, he asked them, do you know anyone else, because this has been awesome, looking to buy a home or sell a house or invest in real estate I can call today? And they said, yes, we do. And they gave him a referral, and now he's working with those people and he's going to help them buy an investment property. But they didn't volunteer that information because they were thinking about their closing and all the other stuff they got to do. And they got to place a tenant in this property. He still had to ask. So people think, well, they know I'm an agent, they're going to refer me. No, they won't. And he was at the closing table with those people. That is the prime real estate time. And he still had to ask. So don't assume that people are going to refer you because they know you're an insurance agent. You have to remind them that you want their referrals, that you're going to take good care of those people. So asking for what you want, maximizing your in-person prospecting, and doing at least 5 one-to-ones per week with everyone from your community groups and business networking groups. That's when you're going to start building relationships. And I guarantee you that the insurance agents out there that are closing the most amount of business and are just crushing it are the ones that have the most meaningful relationships. They're the ones that have the most amount of people that know them, like them, and trust them, which comes from effort building relationships. Now, personally, I'd rather take time building relationships than cold calling or door knocking, right? And so And I think most people agree with that. Some people love the cold calling, and that's cool. I ain't one of them. So if you really want to generate referrals, gang, do relationship-based prospecting. Build relationships. Be intentional about building relationships. Ask the question, do you know anyone looking to, get better car coverage or lower their car payment or get better home insurance that I can call today? If you ask that question 10 times a day to everyone you know, you're always going to have deals.
I love everything about this, man. This is so good. This is so good. So I want to just recap on a few things. So I love the rule because I think that so many, okay, I'm a part of a BNI group. Great. But what are you doing to dig deeper on that relationship?
Yeah.
You kept saying the word relationship, which I love because everyone wants a referral because it's the silver bullet everyone's looking for. But are you actually referable? Are you actually doing the things to build a relationship to be referable, whether it's networking, regardless if it's with your customer? Are you actually doing something to dig into a relationship, get to know, trust your customer, get them to know you to where you're referable? People actually want to help you out.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's talking about it like a relationship. The BNI group that's not even a first date. That's like a swipe right on, whatever dating app you have.
Yes.
That's just the beginning. In order to build a relationship, you're talking about building rapport, calling somebody and getting to know them. And this translates into social media too. When you are on social media, people, you're attracting and repelling all day long. So you're attracting the people that know, and trust you. You're repelling people who are that's not for me. So I think it works not just in the setting of, belly to belly. This works in social media too, asking for referrals and being somebody that's referable in the virtual space as well.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the beauty of social media is people can actually establish a relationship with you before they even meet you. They can actually get to know you and get to vibe you out. And I think in that instance, you got to be yourself when you're on social media. If you try to attract everyone, you're not going to attract anyone.
Amen.
And again, you're looking for people that are looking for you. So some people might think I'm a little too intense. That's cool. I am an intense dude. And if that's not for you, that I more power to you. And I hope you find what you're looking for. And I wish you all the success in your world. But you don't have to comment that you don't like my stuff. You can just move on. Right? It doesn't bother me, but you could just move on and find someone that you resonate with. But I have had a lot of people that have invested in Earth to Orbit or come to some of my educational online courses because they found me on social or they came to one of my free masterminds that I host on Tuesday mornings. And they're like, yep, I like the way he does it. And I talk about that in my book. The cornerstone of the impossible to fail framework starts with getting a blueprint. So if you're an insurance agent trying to learn how to crush it, you get the blueprint from Michael and Courtney, right? They have a great track record. They've done it themselves. They have a great track record of teaching other people how to do it. They have a podcast that doesn't cost anything. They have great content on social that you can check them out. And if you get along with them and you like their character, that's when you go deeper. That's when you pay in for the education. That's when you pay in for the coaching. But absolutely, Courtney, what you said is about social, in person, 100%. And that's how you do that relationship-based prospecting. But I think the difference is that when we talk about getting referrals, like Michael said, there's a disconnect between thinking the referrals just come without effort. Mm-hmm. And you have to prospect for them. You have to work for them. The difference is it's just a different type of prospecting. You're doing relationship-based prospecting rather than, cold lead prospecting.
Yep.
You're attracting rather than chasing. And it is more of a long game. But man, once you hit that exponential growth and you really hit that tipping point, things happen really quickly.
Well, and I love that you just hit on that again, because we're huge proponents of keep the freaking box of donuts at home. Keep the $25 credit cards at home. Be referable. Just take care of the people we said. I don't know. It's just interesting and however you go about your referral process. But the one thing I want to really hit on is the closing. That is the best time to ask for a referral in the insurance business as well, like you just said, because buying momentum is so high. Energy levels are so high. They're just excited about what they did. This is the time to do it. So if you currently are not asking for referrals at the point of sale, that has to be an absolute must within your process.
Yep, 100%. And if I can give one more referral tip, is to maximize your previous clients, which a lot of people don't do. Agents, you work so hard to get the client. You work so hard to nurture them, to close them. There's no one better qualified to give you a referral than a previous client. They know what you're about. They know what you do. Or if you're an insurance agent, then you're actively servicing them. My insurance agent calls me, once a quarter to see how I'm doing, asks if I want any updates. We keep a good relationship. She does a great job. You got to be doing that as an insurance agent, especially because, for me, it's really important because I want to be my client's agent forever. They might not call me again for 5 to 10 years. So I need to just be on their radar. If you're an insurance agent and you're actively servicing them, it absolutely has to be part of your book of business that in your CRM, once a quarter, it pops up, give them a call, do a drive-by, drop off something at their door, but nurture those people and ask them who else that they know that you can help, especially the day, like you said, you're closing out their purchase. But nurturing and maintaining your previous clients is something else that a lot of people don't maximize, and they're absolutely going to be your best referral source.
Yep. I love that you hit on that too, because I was one of those crazies, Rob, that actually enjoyed.
He likes to cold call.
I was
yeah,
a little,
you're a maniac,
a
little psycho. I'm more so like the art of it, but I want to talk because I was in my own way. Okay, from a mindset standpoint, we were agents in a really small town, and I was like, okay, does it actually make sense to try and go network, or would it be better spent? And so, but the one thing that we did really well,
you put me out there.
Yep, I did put you out there. So that was, and we met with our customers like what you're saying. So a gold mine of opportunity with your current customers that know you, like you, trust you, they do business with you. And so we really focused on how do we build as good a relationships with them as possible, which really created that referral funnel. By the time we were 18 to 24 months in, really, we didn't have to make any more cold calls because we were getting so many call-in business from referrals, social media, and our Google presence. So regardless of how you're going to go about this, and we just talked about if we could do a couple things different, it would be what you're saying. Networking with influencers, mortgage lenders, real estate agents, not only within your area, but within the surrounding areas. So I love what you're saying, and you just gave a blueprint that is step-by-step on what to do. The 5x5 rule is really, really good.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to emphasize something you just said, Michael, just for the people listening out there. In 18 to 24 months, you didn't really have to do any more cold calling because you had so much referral business. But for those listening, it was a result of the 2 years of work that Michael and Courtney did up to that point.
300,
right?
300 calls a day, man.
Right? They worked relentlessly hard for 2 years to build that foundation that then allowed them to dial back their cold calling efforts and then focus on maintaining that referral business. You do something until you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to put in those 80-hour work weeks forever. But at the building stage of your business, you must do whatever it takes for, again, they were willing to pay. You were willing to pay the sacrifice, right? You were willing to sacrifice and do what it took. Michael, you said, Courtney saw you maybe once or twice a week for years. Like I can relate to that. Katie and I can relate to that. But look where you are now, which you wouldn't be where you are now if you didn't put in the work previously. So, it doesn't happen by itself, but just more proof of concept, gang, that it is possible. And Mike, you're a perfect example, like you said, of that blueprint of, you take a couple years to build it, but then if you do it right, you've really got something sustainable.
Absolutely.
So, and I love that you bring that up because we're in the same space of coaching professionals.
Yes.
And this almost this concept of how do I convey the whatever it takes mentality? Like, how do you teach that? Because that's something that we struggle with a lot is I want to set up expectations and I want to give you all the tools, but I cannot do it for you. Like, I cannot take the action for you. How do you, just for my own personal growth, how are you coaching to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest, I'm not sure if my answer is going to help you or if you're going to be like, WTF, Rob. But at the heart of it, I don't think that's something you can teach. I think that's one of the things that you have it or you don't. I think you can have it at different levels. And I think if you meet someone that has it, but they're not achieving, it's because they need to know where to focus it. Where do I put that energy? It's not a work ethic issue. It's I need the blueprint. I need direction issue, right? I talk often about probably one of my best case studies. His name is Matthew Wright. He's an agent in Delaware, and he invested in my sales course about 6 months ago. Now, when he came to me, he was a licensed agent for a year. He closed 3 deals, but he didn't have anything consistent. He was on the verge of quitting. And he was like, Rob, if I can't do something, if I really can't make something sustainable, I have no deals in the pipeline, I have no clients right now, I'm going to have to quit and get a salary job. So he invested in the course on a Wednesday. He devoured the content. By Saturday, he got an additional 3 clients. Since then, he's averaged 1.5 closings a month. Right now, he has 5 deals in escrow getting ready to close and over 12 active representation agreements with clients. Right. So for Matt, it wasn't a work ethic issue. He is willing to do whatever it takes. He just needed the direction. And those are the type of people that I want to coach. And I make that very clear. I'm not the coach for everybody. If you need a ton of hand holding, if you need me to quote unquote motivate you because you're not feeling it today, I'm not the guy for you. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you're going to last. I'm just going to be transparent. I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying I don't think we're going to be a good fit together. Right. And so I think as a coach, just like as an agent, an insurance agent, real estate agent, you got to make sure you're taking on clients that are going to be a good fit for you. Right. Because no client's better than a bad one sometimes. Same thing. Right. So with Earth to Orbit, with my course, we have a little free trial people can engage with. I usually tell people, look, come to my free mastermind, go to my YouTube channel. And if you like what you see, we're probably going to be a good fit. But in the intro to the sales course, before they invest any money, I'm very transparent and like, look, my course is the answer. I guarantee this is the key to your future that you're holding in your hand. However, you must be the one to turn it. You must be the one that's willing to take the work because I can't do it for you. I will show you the path, but you must walk it. And I will walk it with you, but I can't drag you kicking and screaming. And so I'm very transparent about that. And I think the right type of person will be motivated by that. They're going to say, dude, I'm ready to work. I'm just excited to have the answer, to have someone that can actually show me. And Michael and Courtney, no doubt, if you have an insurance agent that's like, I'm ready to work, I just need to learn the blueprint, you are the answer. You are the answer. You have the blueprint. You've done it yourself. You've taught countless other people to do it at a very high level. So that's where you go for the blueprint. But for me as a coach and for you as a coach, I would recommend just setting real proper expectations before they sign up for anything and just letting them know, look, what I have to offer is a proven system that's going to guarantee you repeatable results if you follow it. If you're not getting results, it's because you're not implementing it with the right action, the right consistency, or you haven't given it enough time. But if you do those things with the information I have to give you, it's impossible to fail.
Yep.
And just being real transparent about that, I think the right people with the right mindset will get motivated. Even if they don't have a lot of direction for their work ethic, if they have that in them, you will get them to where they need to go. But if they're like, oh, that's going to be too hard, I have a victim mentality, it's everyone else's fault but my own, barring some really life-altering event, I don't think it's possible to change that. I think you got it or you don't, and you can help foster it. But if someone doesn't have that work ethic in them, I personally, just in my experience, I don't think that's something that you can teach.
And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to sub out every time that the word coach was used, and I want you to put leader in there, because it's the exact same. When you're talking about your team and leading your team, you're looking at the same characteristics of, because you're a coach and a mentor within your own agency of how do I build these people up? So go back and re-listen to that. If you have, if you're the leader, if you're the owner, and really pay attention to, is this a good, do I have the right people in alignment to where we're going? Or do they need a blueprint, or do I have the wrong person?
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, a lot of my team of agents, the brokerage I run is new agents, and I don't mind working with new agents. I love it. Some brokers are like, I don't deal with new agents, but I'm good with it. But as long as they have the right character, as long as they have the right work ethic. I can teach the technical skills of real estate, and I can teach you how to crush your day and time block and all that stuff. But the work ethic, the character must be there. And if that's there, then you are going to be a good fit. And if you're an insurance agent that's listening to this and you're frustrated because you haven't gained the traction, but you're willing to put in the work, then, invest in Michael and Courtney's education, because they are great leaders and great coaches in the space.
So, and Rob, thank you for that. We appreciate that. It's it's funny because we speak the same language. Like we tell people the same. Like we got tons of information on YouTube, social media. Read the book if you like it. It's like this on steroids. It's like let's roll. So I dig it, and obviously for any of those out there that are because we get lots of questions around real estate. So use Rob as a resource. Reach out to him. Obviously, if you know of any of your peers that you're networking with, Rob's amazing at what he does. The Impossible to Fail framework is we looked at it before we jumped on with Rob. It's absolutely amazing. So Rob, thank you so much for your time today. If somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So I would for sure recommend checking out my YouTube channel. You can do that at robstein.tv. That's STEIN, robstein.tv. All my content is on there. It's great for agents. It's really great for just entrepreneurs in general that are just looking for kind of the basic principles of productivity mindset. That's robstein.tv. You can look me up on Instagram or Facebook at robstein, Impossible to Fail. And if you're a real estate agent ready to take action on your career, you want to go to earth-to-orbit-training.com. That's earth-to-orbit-training.com, because this thing is finally out after years. And again, hundreds of agents are already having life-changing results with this thing. And if you're ready to work, man, I want to help.
I dig that.
So good.
Rob, this is going to be a little off. I just want to ask one more question while we've got you here, okay?
Yeah.
Way off topic. Nothing we've talked about today. Real estate. How are we looking over like the next 6 months? Projection wise, what are you thinking? And I know you don't got the magic ball. I know you right. can't. You can't predict. But I just like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll give you my input now. I do want to just let the listeners know, right? A lot of I do keep up to date with what's going on. A lot of my insight is coming from the Austin area, where that market has proven to be somewhat resilient to a lot of the economic unrest that's going on elsewhere, because it's just such a popular place to live. Now, that being said, I still coach hundreds of agents all over the country. I run masterminds every week. So on a weekly basis, I'm talking to hundreds of agents from all over the country. So I do have some good insight here. And based on what I'm hearing from the agents I coach and agents that I talk with, things are picking back up a little bit. So just for a quick summary, we had nationwide, it was really interesting. We had the pandemic in combination with the largest nationwide real estate boom in history. Now that happened because, number one, there was a shortage of inventory pretty much nationwide, especially here in Austin, meaning the amount of physical homes available for sale was lower, combined with pretty much free money. The interest rates were lowest than they've ever been. I got a 3.25% rate on my mortgage. The next week we locked someone in at 2.5%. I was like, oh man, come on. So when money is free, everybody, practically free, everybody wants to buy a house. And so we had, incredible interest rates, low inventory, which really created this kind of unsustainable tidal wave of pricing going up and up and up. And that happened for about 2.5 years. And then, the Fed, in an effort to curb that, said, we're going to raise interest rates dramatically to hopefully slow down this crazy market boom. And it worked. I think they did it a little bit too fast, because things just shifted really quick. Interest rates practically doubled in like less than 2 months. We went from 2s and 3s to like 6s and 7s. And then inventory really opened up. So in that case, things really took a turn. We shifted into more of a neutral or buyer's market, depending on where you're at. What we're seeing now, interest rates have stabilized. Now, I'll preface this by saying I'm not a lender. I just work with a lot of lenders and I close a lot of deals. So we see that interest rates have stabilized a little bit, in combination with, I think, for the most part, the pandemic is kind of behind us. there was a bit of a sky is falling kind of syndrome going on. And I think now people are past that. A lot of jobs have stabilized a little bit. You got a ton of people that can work from home now because companies realized, hey, we can work from home. Like we don't have to make people come here. And so you have a lot of millennials that were originally thought to be the laziest generation who statistically are making more money than their parents did. And they can work and live wherever they want. They can work in one place and live in another place. And so, right? Woo! So we're seeing things pick back up a little bit. We're seeing more kind of, less days on market, some multiple offer situations here and there. Who knows what the future holds? Yep. But I will say things have kind of stabilized a little bit, which is encouraging. Yeah. It's a good time to sell. It's a good time to buy. But you always definitely want to know, your local market conditions to be able to educate your buyers and sellers properly.
I love that.
That's good. That's good.
Awesome.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much for all of those listening. Of course, as always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Rob, thank you so much again for your time, brother.
Yeah, Michael, Courtney, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to having you both on my podcast coming up soon.
Looking forward to it.